guys got excited for a second because you thought Pitbull was back. So if you're out there, this is to my second grade class. For those of you that picked me last for the team, Pitbull just opened for me. Yeah! I didn't bring confetti. So yesterday morning, when I got here and I got my badge, I just thought I got a VIP, so I thought if I wrote Pitbull on it, that maybe they would let me into Super VIP, and they didn't. But yesterday morning, I was wearing this, and I got here early. I was here like at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was standing in line. I was the third person in line. I was with Jeff and a few others. We were standing there, third in line before everybody showed up. And this woman came over to me, and not of the Pitbull generation, I'll just say that. And I'm leaning against the wall there, and I got my badge around my neck, and she goes, "How come you're not backstage?" I said, "I just thought I'd come out and hang out with you guys." And so we proceeded to talk for the next 30 minutes. I asked her a bunch of questions, and we just talked. We had a nice talk, found out she's from Albuquerque. Her name's Judy. She's here. She's somewhere over here. And about 30 minutes in, somebody comes over and says, "Oh, hi, Jordan," and shakes my hand. And she looks at me and she goes, "You're not Pitbull?" I go, "No." And then she walks away. She'd never heard of Jordan Adler. So that was pretty funny. So what could I get you to focus on that would change the trajectory of your business in a positive way? That's my objective. What could I get you to see that's maybe invisible to you right now, that you already know it, but you just don't see it because it's invisible? It's kind of like a blind spot. That's kind of my objective. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about those little things, like 4 things I'm going to talk about that they're little things, they're tiny shifts that change everything. And all 4 of these things are things that shifted for me that changed everything. So I have a place in the mountains in Arizona called Jerome, Arizona. It's an old ghost town. It's an old mining town. You've been there. It's a crazy place. It was built in the 1800s, and for 60 years it was abandoned after the gold and copper they mined it all and everybody left, and it's left with a shell of a town. And today it's a bustling little tourist town with the oldest saloon in Arizona, and there's pubs and that kind of stuff. And it's just a music and artist community. And I bought a home up there about 18 years ago, and it's a ghost town. It's the largest ghost town in the United States. And I come home one night at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's about a 4-hour drive from here, and I've got this little gravel driveway, and I drive down, and I go into the house, and it's dark. Of course, it's like 1 in the morning, and I notice downstairs there's a Budweiser beer can on my pool table. And I don't drink Bud. There'd be no Bud in my house, and there would be no reason for that can to be there, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And so I went through the whole house. It's a 4-story home on the side of a mountain. It's not huge. It's about 2,800 square feet, but it's 4 stories, so it's very narrow and along the side of the mountain, right in town. And I went through the whole house, looked through every closet, looked under the beds, made sure there was no one in there because I did not leave a Budweiser beer can there. And nobody's up there. So it's empty, so I throw it away. I come back, 3 weeks later, and I open the door, and I go in, and I'm doing laundry, and downstairs, and I notice the blinds above the washer machine moving, and there was a breeze, and the window was open, and I'd been living there for about 5 years, and I'd never opened that window once. And I closed it, and looked through the house. There's nothing there. About a month later, I come home, and I go to open the bedroom that I sleep in, and it's on the 3rd story, and it's deadbolted from the inside, and I didn't even have a key to it. So I didn't lock it. Called a locksmith. They came out. They opened the door. Couldn't find anything in the house. It was the weirdest thing. I was telling my friends and trying to figure out what was going on. I couldn't figure out how this was happening because there was nobody in the house, and it is a ghost town. So I come back again. This went on for 4 months. I walk in the house, And this was one night, all the lights are on in the house, and the whole house is filled with millions of bugs from the desert, like moths and beetles and flies and, whatever, like millions of them throughout the whole house. And I go downstairs, and the French doors are open downstairs. So I know something's going on. Well, finally I figure out there's a boot print on a dresser. There's a couple of guys in town. We don't know exactly who they were, but they were going in my house for the first time in my life. So I found out there were people that, respectful, they would never steal. They wouldn't even steal the change off the dresser. They were respectful. They would come in, they'd use my house, and then when they hear me come down the driveway, they'd leave, and they'd figure out different ways to leave. And they were literally jumping from the 3rd story down into the yard when they heard me come into the driveway, and that's why the deadbolt in the bedroom was locked. It was the weirdest thing ever. And I needed a security system for the first time in my life. And I have probably met 25 security alarm system people in my lifetime. And I could not tell you the name of one of them. Not one. Because these are people that I shook their hand, maybe they gave me their business card, I probably threw it away, who knows, and they were gone. Never heard from them again. So I went online and I found a company, and I called them, and they came out, and I've been paying $70 a month to that company now for the past 6 years or more. Probably more years than that. 10 years now I've been paying them $70 a month. So all that somebody would have had to do was stay in touch with me. One person could have just once in a while reached out to me and say, "Hi, this is Joe. I'm the guy that does security alarm systems. If you ever need a security alarm system, come and see me." And I'm going to tell you that one of the reasons why I'm standing here on this stage, and many of the others that you've seen on the stage, is because they're really good at connecting with people and reaching out to them in a way. Do we have that slide? I haven't seen it. The pool. Have you guys seen that yet? Okay, there it is. There's the pool table where the beer can was, remember? That's all. See, and this is something, again, it's a tiny shift, and a lot of you say, I do that, but I want you to ask yourself, do you have a contact manager with friends in it? Where there's friends in there, and I'm not just talking about scrolling through news feed. I'm talking about maybe sending them a book once in a while with a little handwritten note in there saying, "I thought of you when I read this book, thought you might like it." Or once in a while, just you think of them, pick up the phone and call and just say, they're not going to pick up. You know that, right? No matter, people don't pick up their phone anymore, but if you call, you can leave a voicemail and just say, "Hey, I was just thinking about you. No agenda, I just wanted to let you know that, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing great, and I'd love to just get caught up sometime." And the people that make it big in network marketing, this is a pattern. What they do is they collect friends over a long period of time. And they're really good at that. And what you'll find, how many of you have experienced, anybody, raise your hand if you've been in the business for 5 years or more. Okay, how many of you have signed up a distributor that you've stayed in touch with for 5 years? They didn't sign up right away, but 5 or more years later they signed up. That's very good. 95% of all salespeople, entrepreneurs, they call themselves entrepreneurs and salespeople, and network marketers, they don't do that. So you give yourself a huge competitive advantage when you do that. When you collect friends and then stay in touch with those friends every year, eventually things change for them. They either get married, they get divorced, they lose their job, they get a job, they move, they have a medical emergency, something happens, and then all of a sudden they go, "You know what? I need to get involved in network marketing. Never needed it before, never was interested before, but you know what? I've been hearing about it more and more, and you know who I'm going to call? I'm going to call Roger, and the reason I'm going to call Roger is because he stayed in touch with me. He's my friend." So that's the first story I want to tell you. Just a little shift. Just something really simple. So I was at a seminar in LA, and it was a crowd like this, maybe a little fewer people, but like this. And I was in the audience, and there was this guy on stage, and he was talking about how the TV set is the greatest robber of your success. He just talked about that. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I do remember that it impacted me in such a way because I was watching TV every day. He said the average person watches anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of TV every day. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then I started thinking, well, I watch it an hour in the morning. And then at night, I usually turn it on and watch a couple shows. And then, usually I fall asleep to it. And I'm probably spending 4 to 6 hours. And so what I did is I went home and I unplugged my TV. And it was unplugged for a year, and then I moved it into a closet, and it was in the closet for 2 years, and then I took it and I gave it to Goodwill. And I didn't have a TV set for 25 years. And guess what I did? Yeah. It totally transformed my life because that was the time that I was in all those 11 companies and not making any money. I talked to a few people. I wasn't doing too much personal development because I was watching TV. But when you don't have a TV set, all of a sudden you got all this free time, and you start doing things to develop yourself, and you're more likely to go out and do the business. So I did that. Well, a number of years later, I get a condo on the Strip here in Las Vegas at the Mandarin Oriental. And I want a flat screen. I want like a 52-inch flat screen for the wall so I could watch movies and maybe sports once in a while. I just wanted to have something on the wall. So I go down to, wow, that time goes fast. I go down to the Best Buy and I say, I want a 52-inch flat screen. I want to put it on the wall in my bedroom. I don't want anything fancy, maybe $750. The guy goes like this. What do you do when somebody does this? You follow him. So I followed the guy. He took me into this room, nice, beautiful leather couches. I sit down. Can I get the next slide, please? He's got Shrek 3D showing on the TV. He hands me these glasses. I put these glasses on, and it's like the donkey's jumping out at me. It's like the best 3D I've ever seen. I said, how much? He said, $6,500. I told him I wanted to spend $750. He said $6,500, and I said, I'll take it. Now, that's all he did was say, come here, handed me the glasses. He showed me. And I see it on Facebook every day, and I see it in person every day. We as network marketers are running around selling what we do, and you're 100 times more effective when you demo it or let people try it. Let them experience it. I know a lot of you already do this. But a lot of you don't. So when you find yourself talking, so he didn't say anything to me. He just went like this. Come here, I want to show you something. This is how I build my business. Come here, I want to show you something. And I demo it. In some cases, you try it, right? You test it, you try it out. Maybe it's a 30-day trial. So that's the second one. And so you probably heard that Curtis, I think, mentioned that I learned to fly helicopters a couple years ago, right? Just for fun. And it's hard. It's the hardest thing I ever learned to do. In fact, when I decided to do it, the dream was it was really intense. Like I really wanted to do this so that when my friends came to Vegas, I could take them up. I took 4 of my friends that are here in the audience out this past week in the helicopter, and we went and flew around Red Rock and went out to 7 Magic Mountains, and it's really fun. Yeah. So that was like a dream that I had. Well, I was learning to hover. It was like early on, so I go down there, and my instructor, Travis, his name's Travis, and we get in the helicopter. He says, I'm going to do 3 things, and I'm going to just have you do one thing. I'm going to control the collective, which is this little mechanical thing right here up and down that controls the pitch of the helicopter blades, which causes the helicopter to go up or down. He says, I'm going to control the pedals, which is the yaw of the helicopter. That's this. He says, I just want you to control the cyclic, which is it tips the whole helicopter blade forward, back, left, and right. So if you push it forward, the helicopter goes forward. If you push it back, the helicopter goes back, right, left. And the movements are so tiny that you can't see them with the naked eye. So in fact, when you're in the helicopter flying, when you move that, the passengers can't see it move. It's a thought. And it's really that tiny. And you have to anticipate what the helicopter is going to do because the helicopter is just hanging from the main rotor from a little mast. It's just hanging, and so what happens is if you over-control, the helicopter starts to porpoise, like woof, 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 like that. But that's not a porpoise sound, that's more of a dog sound, but it was just like woof. That's kind of how, the sound that it makes is like woof, right? So we're in the helicopter, and we start the thing up, and we lift the he lifts the helicopter. I'm new, like I haven't learned navigation or weather, and I haven't passed my test yet, and we haven't done anything with the airport signage and talking to the tower and all that. So we haven't done any of that stuff. We're just going to hover the helicopter. That's all. Just hover the helicopter. So he pulls the collective up, and the helicopter lifts up, and we're literally like 5 feet off the ground, just sitting in the helicopter like this, perfectly steady. He's 23 years old. So he's holding controls, and I'm holding controls. He goes, now I just want you to keep it right here. You're only going to do forward, left, back, and right. I'm going to do everything else. I'm going to do the pedals. I'm going to do the collective. You just do forward, back, left, and right. But I want you to just hold it in one spot. Don't move. Just hold it in one spot. He says, if you can keep it within a football field, I'll buy you a pizza. This is easy. We're just sitting in one spot. He goes, you have the controls. I go, I have the controls. He goes, you have the controls. And like we're 100 yards and he grabs the controls, perfectly steady. He goes, you want to try it again? I go, yeah, I got this. You have the controls. I have the controls. You have the controls. We're like 100 yards in the other direction. Like literally, you just move it 1/10 of an inch, and the helicopter is like literally from here to that wall in a second, that wall. And he grabs the controls like woof, perfectly steady. And then he starts to give me little tricks. Like you're gonna, like pretend that you're standing on a basketball holding a cup of water and make sure that the water doesn't ripple. That's kind of how it is. It really is. Richard Brooke knows, he flies helicopters. One of my dreams was to fly a helicopter with Richard. When I got involved, when I started doing this, I thought, wouldn't it be so cool to go up with my idol who I've known for so many years and be able to fly a helicopter with him? And we did that. So by the way, it took me now I want you to think about how long 5 minutes is. Just in your mind for a minute, think about how long 5 minutes is. Like if I were to not talk and just stand here. I'm not going to do it, but let's just say I was going to stand here for 5 minutes and not say anything for 5 minutes. It's a long time. Now imagine trying to hover for 5 minutes. And you screw it up every few seconds. And then you try it again and try it again. 5 minutes. It took me 5 full hours before I could hold the helicopter in one spot. That doesn't even include the pedals and any of that. Your brain gets wired in. One day it just goes, bam, you just get it. It's like all of a sudden, it's like, woof. And now it's like I can go back a month and a half later and it's no problem at all. Right up and it's perfectly steady. Travis said to me, he said, Jordan, I can't teach you how to do it. You just have to do it till you get it. This is a little thing. It sounds so simple. But it's one of the for many of you in this room, this is the one thing that will make all the difference in the world. Nobody can teach you to do this. You can take all the notes in the world. You can get the systems down. You're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff from the best people. But until you're out there doing it every day and flying all over the ramp until you dial in, you're never going to get it. But one day, it's just going to dial in. That's the way it works. So the last thing I want to say is I've been talking about going to the Virgin Islands for 10 years. I've been telling my friends for 10 years, I'm going to the Virgin Islands. And every year I believed I was going to go. And you know what? Can we get the next slide, please? I never went. And I was at a seminar. And the person in the room said, just like this, it's like Eric's up here teaching you all this stuff, and you hear from all these other people, and you're writing notes, and it's like one thing that clicks, just that one thing can make all the difference. And I heard the guy say that if it's not on your calendar, it's not real. It doesn't exist. And I thought, Virgin Islands. And I wrote October 3rd through October 11th, Virgin Islands. This was years ago. And I crossed it off. And whenever you write it into your calendar, everything changes. You start going, who am I going to go with? How am I going to get there? How am I going to have the money? What am I going to do while I'm there? Where am I going to stay? All those questions start to get answered over the course of the months ahead. And guess where I went on October 3rd? Virgin Islands for the first time. And I've been there 10 times since then. Been all over the world because I've learned that when you write it into your calendar, everything changes. So what I wanted to leave you with is these 4 things. And if you'll just take 1 or 2 of these things, the 1 or 2 that you're not doing right now, and I'm not just talking about I know. Knowing doesn't make a difference. Most of you know this stuff. I know this stuff. Remember, the objective is to maybe have you see something that was always there but that you never really saw before, or get you to focus in an area that maybe you haven't focused on before. Of those 4 things, What are the 2 that you could maybe be a little more intentional about? Stay in touch in a meaningful way with everybody that you meet that you like for the rest of their lives. Stay in touch. That's a differentiator. That's something that most network marketers don't do. It gives you a huge competitive advantage. Demo it instead of talking about it. Getting out and doing the business over and over and over and over and over again until you're dialed in, and start to write things into your calendar. If you're not doing that right now, things that you want to achieve or accomplish, write it on your calendar, even if you don't know how you're going to get there. Put it in your calendar, and everything changes when you do that. Your decision making is going to change. What you focus on is going to change. Who you attract into your life is going to change. What you're going to say to people is going to change when you put it into your calendar. So that's my talk. I love you guys. Thank you. You ready to party? Woo! Thank you.